Is that everything? Yes. All right, that'll be $50 billion.
Win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
We've heard for years about how tariffs are going to save us, how they're going to stick it to other countries, and how it's all part of some grand plan for American economic superiority. But guess what? Turns out reality has a funny way of catching up. And now, some of the very people who championed these policies are finding out what winning actually means for them.
All right, I hate asking for help. I'm not asking for any handouts, but I'm a small business owner that is directly being affected by the 104% tariff that has been put on China. I import alloy wheels for cars, and I do somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 containers a year, which is a small business in regards to this industry. At 104%, I am absolutely going to implode and will not last 6 months. So with that said, I'm asking, is there anybody out there that has connections with manufacturing facilities, specifically alloy wheels, either in the United States or outside in these lesser tariffed countries like Mexico, Indonesia, Thailand, India? I need to find another source. I've emailed a lot of these companies and cannot get a response. And I just don't know if it's because I'm a small business or what exactly it is. So if anybody's out there that can help or shed some light, maybe provide some information that would be helpful, I would really greatly appreciate it, because if not, it's just a small business here that's going to go under, and I'll be back to digging ditches again, which I'm not scared to do, but it's a little harder to do with a wife, 2 kids, and at 45 years old. So let me know if you guys have any suggestions. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Wow, just wow. This is exactly what we were talking about. This guy, a small business owner, is on the brink of collapse, openly admitting that Trump's tariffs are directly responsible for his business imploding. It's almost poetic, isn't it? He's begging for solutions, for connections, for anything to save his livelihood, all while acknowledging the very policies he supported are destroying him. You can't say we didn't warn you.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for replying to my comment, and then I'd like to thank everybody else who commented on that comment chain in favor of what I was saying. But let's rewind and see how this all started.
All right, I hate asking for help. I'm not asking for any handouts, but I'm a small business owner that is directly being affected by the 104% tariff that has been put on China. And I am absolutely going to implode and will not last 6 months.
So you're telling all of us that you voted for a man twice that said he was going to do this, that we all warned you was going to happen, but yet you still did it. Now, why would you do that? I mean, we see this all the time. People like you vote for a man that is purposely going to hurt so many other communities, but as long as it doesn't affect you, you're okay. But the moment that it affects you, that's the only time you care.
To love the fact that their family is being negatively affected because I didn't vote the same way that you did. Far left-leaning friend.
You voted for a man who's a predator. You voted for a man who sexually assaulted women and made jokes about it. You voted for a man that has decades-long racism and bigotry, and yet you still voted for him. And now you're crying because it's affecting you personally. And yes, that's why I love this for you, because you should feel the same exact way that everybody else did, because your vote was meant to hurt other communities.
There it is. This woman is saying exactly what so many of us have been thinking. It's this incredibly frustrating pattern where people support policies that clearly harm others, as long as they believe they'll be insulated from the fallout. But the moment the chickens come home to roost and it personally affects their bottom line, then it's a crisis. It's not sympathy these folks deserve, it's a dose of reality. You vote for consequences, and sometimes those consequences come for you.
So it looks like we have yet another Trump voter coming to the internet looking for, I'm assuming, sympathy?
I didn't really want to have to get on here and do this, but I had to. I called 2 weeks ago to get a quote on these fiberglass steaks because we need some more steaks this year. I got a quote, 83 cents. I called the man this morning. I said, hey, I know these tariffs are crazy and everything going on. I said, what can you do me on those fiberglass steaks now if we needed a load? He said, Taylor, you don't want to hear this price and I'm about to give you. He said, each of those steaks now is going to be $1.74 a piece. So that's just to let you know a little bit of what we're going through out here on our farm and what farmers in general are going through. These tariffs, not the best thing for our country. I voted for Trump.
Another one bites the dust. It's truly something when a farmer, someone whose livelihood is so directly tied to the cost of basic supplies, admits that tariffs have doubled his input costs, and then, almost as an afterthought, sheepishly admits he voted for the very person who enacted these policies. The disassociation is mind-boggling. They're feeling the pain, but the connection between their vote and their struggle still seems tenuous to them. It's like, oh, these tariffs are bad, but my guy. Unbelievable.
Ricky Bobby, you about to learn today. We gonna go fast, so I hope that your little pea brain can keep up. So if you don't think these China tariffs aren't affecting the food supply, let me break it down for you. I'm Sonia Roselli, I own a skincare brand, and I have been importing for the last 10 years, so I know a little bit about supply chains. And when the shit it's fucked up, and it's about to get real fucked up. Here's how the China tariffs will affect our food supply and why we all about to go. So it's a goddamn good thing that we're all on these ones. First of all, when it comes to the food supply, farmers get most of their fertilizer, pesticides, that kind of shit from China. They get a lot of the equipment from China. If they don't have any of that shit to grow food, guess what? Food supply shortages, no food on the shelves, you're be hungry. Second of all
right, Sonia is laying it all out. This isn't just about small business owners importing alloy wheels or farmers buying steaks. This is about everything. When you mess with global supply chains, the ripple effect is immense. She's explaining the fundamental truth that many Trump supporters refuse to acknowledge. We live in an interconnected world, and tariffs don't just punish China, they punish us. They directly impact the ability of American farmers to grow food, and that, my friends, hits everyone.
that all fucking goes into the secondary packaging that comes from China. So what does that mean? That means if they don't have any secondary packaging to put the food in, the food is going to sit there and rot. And what does that mean? That means you're going to go hungry. That means that there's not going to be. What else comes from China? The fucking parts that goes on the trucks. That means all of that that is taking your frozen yogurt from one part of Texas to the other part of Texas. That means if there is no fucking refrigeration on that truck and they can't get a part from China, that means all your frozen milk and all your frozen pizzas and all your shit is going to be melted, sitting in that Texas rotting. Yeah, it's going to supply chain, and it's going to if it's on the shelves. What does that mean? It means your bitch ass is gonna go hungry again. There ain't no food to sell. What else comes from China? Raw ingredients. That means
she just keeps delivering the cold, hard truth. It's not just the stuff you think about like electronics or raw materials, it's the packaging. It's the parts for the trucks that transport our food. This level of detail shows just how naive it is to think we can simply cut off a major trading partner without massive downstream consequences that affect everyone's ability to put food on their table. And yet somehow they remain confused when prices skyrocket and shelves go empty. It's not rocket science, folks.
They've already seen it get much better. The price of groceries are substantially down.
No, they're not. Are you kidding me? If you would drag your Cheeto Puff looking face to a grocery store, you'd see prices are through the roof. I'm over here clipping coupons like it's my second job just to bring prices down. But I do give you credit. You do produce something more than any other president has, which is super affordable. And these people are eating them up.
Trump living in a completely different reality. Groceries are substantially down. I mean, is he buying his groceries from a different dimension? Because out here in the real world, the prices have been astronomical. Anyone who stepped foot in a grocery store recently knows that this is an absolute lie. The man in the video nails it. It's a bullshit sandwich that his loyal supporters are just gobbling up, no questions asked. The disconnect between what Trump says and what people actually experience is frankly astonishing. Oh, the irony. This is the real-world consequence of those substantially down grocery prices Trump was talking about. Look at those numbers. Lettuce for $20, eggs for $8 or $9, meat in the double digits for a single package. This isn't just a slight increase. This is a massive hit to every family's budget. And the distressed face of the MAGA hat guy, paired with the comical sound effects, really drives home the point. It's hard to feel bad for them when they voted for this exact outcome.
Is that everything? Yes? All right, that'll be $50 billion.
$50 billion for an apple. Okay, it's exaggerated, but it captures the absolute absurdity and pain people are feeling at the grocery store. This meme perfectly encapsulates the shock and disbelief that comes with seeing everyday items suddenly costing an arm and a leg. It's a comedic take on a very real and very serious problem, and it's hitting the very people who are cheering on these policies. You reap what you sow, folks.
To win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
That's the real winning right there. Trump talking about getting tired of winning while the market absolutely tanks in real time. This isn't some abstract economic theory. This is actual money, actual investments, actual livelihoods disappearing because of reckless trade policies. The irony of his voiceover about relentless winning as the stock chart plunges is almost too perfect. For anyone dealing with investments, this is not a joke. It's a terrifying reality.
Trump is going to ruin our economy with tariffs. Do you want our country to be in a trade deficit? No, why would I want that? Well, you just said you're against the tariffs that Trump is putting in place. You do realize that he's only price matching other countries' tariffs that they impose on us. What are you talking about? Well, since you guys love Canada so much, I'm just going to use that as an example. So we get a lot of our steel, aluminum, and copper from Canada. And they charge us 48% tariffs in copper and 45% tariffs in aluminum. So the whole point of Trump price matching other countries is so tariffs go down completely as a whole.
Ah, the classic price matching argument. It sounds so logical on the surface, doesn't it? They do it to us, so we do it back. But it completely ignores the complex realities of global trade, supply chains, and the interconnectedness of economies. It's a simplistic, almost childish approach to a highly sophisticated system. And as we've seen in the previous clips, this price matching isn't making things go down for anyone in the real world. It's making them go up for American businesses and consumers.
But the Prime Minister of Canada said that he didn't want this. Yeah, of course he doesn't want it. If you're charging 270% tariffs for milk, I don't think you'd want to price match that either. All I'm saying is that Trump is price matching other countries' tariffs. And I don't see how that's a bad thing considering we are trillions of dollars in debt and that ratio needs to go down.
The debt argument again, always with the debt. They frame it as a way to fix the debt, but tariffs are taxes on American consumers and businesses. They don't magically make money appear. They raise costs, reduce purchasing power, and stifle economic growth. And Prime Minister's not wanting this? Yeah, because it hurts their economy and ours. It's a race to the bottom, not a strategic economic policy.
Guys, a federal court has now decided that President Taco can no longer hold the U.S. economy hostage. They have deemed the Trump tariffs under the Emergency Powers Act illegal, which means that he cannot implement them. We just got this news literally 10 minutes ago. We're making a video about it. So it looks like a court that checks and balances the system of the United States may have just saved the U.S. economy. Let's see what happens. I have a feeling Trump is probably going to crash out tonight. I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know what they're going to try to do. But this is some good news. Hopefully puts away any sort of nonsense that's going to happen later on with these ridiculous trade deals that aren't even getting passed.
And there it is, folks, the ultimate mic drop. A federal court has stepped in and called these tariffs what they are: illegal. This isn't just some political squabble. This is the legal system saying enough is enough. Trump overstepped his authority, and the consequences of his reckless policies were so damaging that the courts had to intervene. It's a huge win for common sense, for sound economic policy, and for everyone who was suffering under the weight of these self-inflicted wounds. The checks and balances system actually working. You love to see it. All right, we've just witnessed a masterclass in irony, delusion, and the painful consequences of supporting policies that are fundamentally flawed. Let's break down everything we saw, because there's a lot to unpack here. First, let's talk about the sheer hypocrisy we witnessed. We started with the small business owner pleading for help because Trump's tariffs were destroying his livelihood. He claimed he hated asking for handouts, yet here he was, effectively asking the internet for a bailout from the economic policies he enthusiastically supported. This is the epitome of the face-eating leopard meme, isn't it? These are the people who, for years, have chanted USA, USA, while ignoring every single economist, every single expert, and every single warning that tariffs are, in essence, taxes on American consumers and businesses. They were told repeatedly that messing with established global supply chains would lead to higher prices, fewer options, and economic instability. But as long as they thought it was hurting China or punishing the libs, they were all for it. Then, the moment it hits their wallet, their farm, their small business, suddenly it's an outrage. The shock on their faces in the grocery store store clips, the desperate pleas for help, the admission that they voted for Trump. It's a painful but necessary lesson. This isn't about schadenfreude, though I admit there's a certain satisfaction in seeing people experience the direct consequences of their ill-informed choices. It's about accountability. When you vote for a policy, you vote for its outcomes. You can't then turn around and cry foul when those outcomes don't magically exempt you. And let's not forget the woman in the first reaction video, eloquently laying out the moral bankruptcy of this mindset. As long as it doesn't affect you, you're okay. But the moment that it affects you, that's the only time you care. This cuts to the heart of the issue. The support for Trump often comes from a place of owning the libs or punishing perceived enemies, even if the collateral damage includes marginalized communities, democratic institutions, or, as it turns out, their own neighbors and even themselves. They voted for a man with a documented history of sexism, racism, and predatory behavior, all while ignoring the pleas and suffering of others. So, when their own suffering begins, it's not surprising that the empathy well has run dry for many of us who tried to warn them. The farmer who saw his fiberglass steak cost double is another prime example. He knew the tariffs were crazy, but still voted for the architect of those tariffs. This speaks to a deeper problem within the Trump base, a fundamental inability or unwillingness to connect cause and effect when it contradicts their predetermined political loyalty. It's a blind allegiance that trumps, no pun intended, personal economic well-being, common sense, and even basic self-preservation. And then we had Sonia Roselli, who provided a much-needed dose of reality regarding the complexities of supply chains. It's not just about finished products, it's about fertilizer, pesticides, equipment parts, packaging, and raw ingredients. When you disrupt these intricate global networks with arbitrary tariffs, you don't just make things more expensive. You create shortages, lead to spoilage, and ultimately threaten the availability of food. The idea that we can just make it in America overnight is a fantasy. Rebuilding decades of outsourced manufacturing and supply chains is a monumental task that requires long-term strategic investment, not impulsive retaliatory tariffs. Her explanation highlights how disconnected the Ricky Bobbies of the world are from how our economy actually functions. Trump's own statement about groceries being substantially down was just pure, unadulterated gaslighting. It's an insult to the intelligence of every single person who has had to stretch their grocery budget or stare in disbelief at the price of a dozen eggs. The reality shown in the grocery store clips, with lettuce at $20 and meat nearing $30, is a stark contrast to his fantastical claims. This highlights a core tactic of his. Tell your base what they want to hear, regardless of truth, and they will believe it. They are eating those bullshit sandwiches as if they are the most delicious meal they've ever had. The clip of the trader watching his investments plummet while Trump blabbers about winning is also deeply symbolic. Tariffs aren't just about consumer prices. They send shockwaves through financial markets, create uncertainty, and can lead to significant losses for investors and businesses. It's a stark visual representation of the chaos and instability that these policies breed. And finally, the Democrat versus Republican debate about tariffs. The Republican in that clip offers the same tired, simplistic arguments we've heard for years: price matching, trade deficit, fixing the debt. Let's be clear, tariffs are not a solution to our national debt. They are a consumption tax. They raise the cost of imported goods, which then either get passed on to the consumer or absorbed by businesses, reducing profits and potentially leading to layoffs. The idea that retaliatory tariffs will somehow make other countries stop their tariffs is a childish game of chicken where everyone loses. Canada isn't going to roll over because we charge them more for steel. They're going to retaliate, and the cycle continues, harming businesses and consumers on both sides. The reality is that complex trade issues require diplomatic solutions, not blunt instruments that harm our own economy. The ultimate vindication, however, came with the federal court ruling the Trump tariffs illegal. This is huge. It confirms what many legal scholars and economists have argued for years, that Trump's use of emergency powers for these tariffs was an overreach, an abuse of power. It's a testament to the checks and balances of our legal system, stepping in to protect the economy from what was clearly an unconstitutional and economically damaging policy. It's a relief to know that there are still safeguards in place to prevent a president from holding the entire U.S. economy hostage with reckless actions. This decision not only validates the concerns of those who oppose the tariffs from the beginning, but also provides a legal precedent against such abuses in the future. So where does this leave us? We've seen Trump's voters begging for relief from the very policies they cheered on. We've seen the tangible economic harm to small businesses, farmers, and everyday consumers. We've seen the disingenuous claims from Trump himself, flatly contradicted by reality. And we've seen the legal system step in to halt these economically damaging and unconstitutional actions. The lesson here is clear. Elections have consequences, policy choices have real-world impacts, and sometimes those impacts come back to bite the very people who thought they were immune. Maybe, just maybe, this will be a wake-up call for some. Maybe, just maybe, they'll start listening to experts, connecting the dots, and prioritizing actual economic stability over performative political gestures. One can only hope. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments below. What was the most shocking part of this whole situation for you? And what do you think these folks will learn from this? I can't wait to read your thoughts. See you in the next one.